You're welcome. This is Newsroom on GHOne TV. My name is Abna Owusu-Nyamecha. Let's begin with our headlines. Manhunt underway for 3 young men who allegedly leaked a sex tape of the head teacher of Breman Edumanu DA Basic School and a student in the Central Region. Meanwhile, the head teacher has been sacked. We've got details for you in this bulletin. Well, here in Accra, pupils of Omanjo MA continue to sit on the floor and broken chairs to study a week after GHOne News aired the story about their predicament.
We don't have a library, so it makes English difficult for us, because when we have a library, we go to the library to go and read.
Imani Africa is assessing the performance of the Akufo-Addo-led administration after 12 months in office. We'll bring you a live update.
I was in PDP, but not now.
Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo does have a unique approach to bearing his mind on thorny national issues.
Well, on the foreign front, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is urging President Muhammadu Buhari not to seek re-election. We'll tell you why. Thank you for joining us. In our first story, pupils of Omanjo MA Basic are paying a higher cost for education as they sit on the floors and broken chairs to study. The dire situation is not only affecting academic work of the children, but also their health.
Omanjo MA cluster of schools was built about 13 years ago within the Gan West Municipal Assembly. It is the only government school at Omanjo, and children from over 10 surrounding communities come here for their basic education. Currently, the school has over 2,500 students with 60 teachers. Due to the huge population, the school runs a shift system. There are not less than 120 students in a class. Pupils from MA 1 and 2 share the same classroom with 2 teachers taking turns in teaching. Headmasters of the school share an office, which is in an awful state as well. As the pupil population increase every academic year, the school faces huge challenge with infrastructure and other amenities for a conducive learning environment.
We don't have a library, so it makes English difficult for us, because when we have a library, we go to the library to go and read, to improve upon our language. But without the library, we cannot read. So when a teacher is in the class, when he's explaining the lesson, sometimes they use Chi, not English. So it makes learning hard for us.
The lack of furniture in classrooms has made teaching and learning very difficult. Pupils have no choice than to sit on these blocks and in worst cases on the floor. For lucky pupils who get desks to sit on, they have to sit in 3s and 4s, a huge price to pay for education. Though the school received about 200 desks last year, they were inadequate and currently in a deplorable state.
There are not a lot of chairs in the classroom and we don't feel comfortable when learning. And also, the school is not completed and we don't feel comfortable too. When a teacher is even teaching us, a lot of people will be making noise, and in one class, about 103 in the class, and only one teacher can teach. When the teacher too is teaching, he also gets tired.
It's very difficult because, we need more desks in this school. It's like we are all we are suffering in the school. We need more desks.
The situation has forced some of the students to become carpenters, fixing tables and chairs for their fellow students as teaching and learning goes on.
We are using this wooden for desks. We don't have enough desks for the school, so we are working for this.
We sometimes feel uncomfortable when learning because when doing our classworks, our teachers come to even pass through the chairs, but they don't get comfortable place when passing into our desks.
But the lack of furniture is not the only challenge the school faces. There is no decent toilet facility. Security is also a challenge since there is no fenced wall. According to some headmasters who spoke to us off camera, mischievous students always find their way out of school to nearby game centers during school periods. About 3 years ago, there was a glimmer of hope as construction of a new classroom block started. The work has unfortunately come to a standstill for almost a year now. The school recently benefited from government school feeding program, a huge relief for teachers who in most cases had to feed the poor students out of their pockets. Authorities of the school are therefore calling on government to come to their aid as the situation is gradually out of hand.
And following the story by GHOne News, a week ago, officials from the Education Ministry are visiting the Omanjo MA Basic School currently, and my colleague Della Michelle is on campus, joins us live. Della, what is the atmosphere in school and what have you picked up from the visit of the Education Ministry so far?
Oh, well, good morning to you, Abna. I'll say that the Ministry of Education, the head of public relations for Ministry of Education, and also the PRO for the Ghana Education Service, and other officials actually paid a visit to the school this morning. They've gone to most of the classroom blocks, that is the primary block and the junior high school block as well, to ascertain the situation. But Abna, I will not be the one to talk about their findings. I have them with me here, so I'm just going to go straight into their interview. That is the public relations, head of public relations for Ministry of Education, Mr. Dan Osman is here with me. Mr. Osman, good morning and welcome to GHOne TV.
Good morning and thanks.
You have been here at Omanjo this morning, Omanjo MA Basic School. You have seen the situation. What are your findings so far?
First of all, let me thank the media for bringing this situation to our notice. Indeed, I want to thank Ghanaian Times for reporting on this issue, and for that matter, GHOne for coming here. Indeed, having entered the primary school and the junior high school classroom, we have detected that the classrooms are overpopulated due to inadequate classrooms. We also noticed that the blackboards were not anything to go about. And then we have also realized that there could be a sanitation problem looking at the numbers in this area. We also understanding that there is an uncompleted 3-story building. And this is all these things are going to be included in our report to the minister and indeed the deputy minister who is in charge of general education, Dr. Aduchum. And I believe that the ministry is going to take action, at least in terms of the furniture, which is creating the problem. And then we'll look at how best to collaborate with either the assembly to get the building completed.
Mr. Osman, you mentioned that the ministry is going to look at the situation, but the main issue here is the lack of furniture. Students are sitting on the floor. You went to the primary school, you saw them, children as young as 7 years old are on the floor writing. What is the Ministry of Education going to do? How soon are we supposed to see some work by the Ministry of Education?
Having not reported yet to the ministry, I cannot stand here and say that they're going to bring the furniture either today or tomorrow next. They haven't reported. I believe they will take action because we're going to show them pictures of the situation. And if we have any furniture anywhere in the Greater Accra region which are not being used, I believe that as soon as possible the furniture will be brought to the school.
All right. But Abna, I also have with me the PRO for GES, Madam Cassandra Chum Ampofo. I'm also going to engage her briefly. Madam Ampofo, GES, you've been here, you've seen the situation. The children are sitting on the floor. Some are even sitting on the walls as we are speaking. What do you make of it?
Yes, we had media reports, and so we decided to be here to be on grounds to ascertain the truth. Yes, we have seen the congestion, we've seen the lack furniture, we have seen everything, the challenges that they are going through, and so we are going to report back to our Director General, and then we'll see the next line of action. Yes, we have also been told that they lack educational materials, and so we've asked the head to give us the list of the textbooks that they need or they are in shortage, and then quickly we'll give them the books. But then we'll report to our DG, that's the Director General, and then get back to them. Of course, this is a serious situation, and we are not going to sleep on it. We are really going to act very fast so that teaching and learning will be effective here.
It's good that you said that this is a very serious situation. You're not going to sleep on it. So in terms of timeline, how soon are we supposed to see the GES actually bringing in the furniture and the needed education to make sure that the people of Omanjo MA Basic School have quality education?
Well, I will say very soon. I do not want to give you a timeline so that in case something happens, we are here. We are going to report back to our bosses, and definitely very soon. In fact, we have pictures, just like Mr. Osman said. We have, and then we are here. We are here. We've seen, and so definitely we are going to act very soon. Very soon. You hear, Della?
But we know that the GS also have supervisors that go from school to come with reports. How come this particular situation, Omanjo MA Basic School, has not been brought to the limelight yet? How come it had to take media to report on this? What were the supervisors doing?
Well, we'll link up with the district director. Well, I'm a bit surprised myself, and you know that I'm also very new here. And so we'll link up with the district and find out why or what really happened, that the circuit supervisor or the inspectors around it, why. We have to find out why they did not report this earlier, and we have to wait for the media to come in before we take action. This is in Greater Accra, and we say that in Greater Accra they are here. This is GHOne West, right, and very close to the ministries or even the GES. And so, should something like this happen, definitely we should get the reports, not the media. So we'll link up with the district director and find out why that happened, and then move from there.
So, Abna, you've heard it from the head of public relations of the Ministry of Education, as well as the PRO for the Ghana Education Service. Very soon they are going to address this issue. They have not given us the timeline yet, but trust GH1, Abna, we will be following them to get updates for the students here in Omanjo Basic Education, especially when it comes to furniture and the educational materials needed for quality education here in Omanjo Basic MA.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Della Michelle, joining us from the Omanjo MA Basic School. We've been joined via telephone, the chairman of the Ghana Education Campaign Coalition, Bright Appiah, for a conversation on the conditions of the Omanjo Basic School. Bright, thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom. Does this come to you as a surprise, such that in 2018, students have been turned into carpenters to fix their furniture before they can study?
It's a new development. The architects have been the system for some time now, but in terms of the revelation that we are getting as a result of the media report, it shows that there's a lot of things that have gone on that we need to correct now. So on the surface of that, I would say that it is a surprise because one, we have on the basis of this, the Constitution of Ghana defined the school environment as a training ground for children. Therefore, once a child finds him or herself in that environment, it means that they have signed a social contract with the state in terms of what the state has for in terms of the training and all that. So, and exclusively you are there to learn. On the basis of that, you cannot be engaged in any kind of activity. And it's also the responsibility of the state to provide you with the basic facilities that you require to be able to study. So we expect that the state will be responsible in terms of delivering it part of the whole contract agreement, and then also the responsibility of children is to learn. So it is not for children to go about either fixing their own chairs or fetching water or doing any kind of activity that does not have anything to do with the learning process. So on the basis of that, I think that the state must be up and doing it. Once they have given you timelines in terms of what they want to do, I think that it should be on us to monitor as to whether indeed something like that will be done, so that we can safeguard the environment for the well-being of our children.
Clearly, the state has failed these pupils and a number of others which are yet to be brought to the limelight. But as the coalition, what do you think has accounted for this? Is it the lack of proper monitoring systems, or is it that they do not care at all?
Yeah, well, once you have infrastructure, one of the things that the state needs to do is to do what we call the auditing. And this role has been given to district assemblies and then the Ghana Education Service to be able to perform it properly. So once they go to the schools, they would identify some of these and then report accordingly so that we take action to address them. So if we are still seeing this, then it means that one way or the other, we are not carrying out the audit, or secondly, we are not doing the kind of monitoring that we are to do to bring out some of these issues and all that. So it shows that these systems are weak, in identifying some of these issues. The systems are so weak that they are not even doing what is expected of them. Because if you even listen to the minister last year, he mentioned that they will require about 20 billion in dealing with the infrastructure deficit, and then the audit, changing or building new structures or rehabilitating old structures and all that. So it points to the fact that yes, if we require this amount of money to do that, then it means that on yearly basis we've not been carrying out the audit to be able to know the structure that we have to pull down, the one that we have to rehabilitate, and the new one that we have to build. So things have been on an ad hoc basis and all that. But I think that it's high time for us to, first of all, hold the ministry responsible in terms of the audit, so that every year we can demand accountability from them as to how many structures that we need in this country to aid our educational system, or the ones that we have to pull down, or the ones that we have to rehabilitate. Otherwise, we'll keep on spending these huge sums of money. But at the end of the day, we will not even get the commitment of the state, because looking at the money, the state will not be ready to invest it. So we have to demand yearly accountability from them on the state of our infrastructure in our schools.
Just that, we are going to do that based on the words of the Education Ministry and the Education Service, that they are going to bring this issue to the attention of the ministry and get the matter resolved. But thank you very much. Brighter Pia is the chairman of the Ghana Education Campaign Coalition. Let's move on. And police in the Central Region have launched a manhunt for 3 young men who allegedly leaked a sex tape widely circulated on social media, capturing the head teacher of Breman Adamanu DA Basic School and a senior high school student. And the sex video allegedly capturing the two has been circulated widely. We can now speak to the Central Regional Director of Police Public Affairs, ASP Irene Sewa Upon. Madam, we are grateful for your time. What do you know as the police about this video and how it came into the public?
Good morning. For now, we are still investigating the source of where the video, the first video came out from. And we have had some information that we are picking some people to help us with investigation. So we have not been able to establish the first person who released the video yet. But then at the end of our investigation, we should be able to establish where it came from and also those behind it.
We know you're looking for some 3 persons. How did you arrive at them as suspects in this whole release of the sex tape?
Based on information and intelligence gathering.
But have you interrogated the girl in question?
Come again.
The girl in question or the head teacher, has the police interrogated them yet?
We have taken statements from the lady, that is the girl in question. And as at this morning, we have given an invitation to the headmaster to also report and help us with the investigation.
There has been conflicting reports about who this girl is and her age and all that. What can you tell us per your interaction with her? How old is she?
The information we received or what she stated in her statement was that she was born in July 1999, meaning she is 18 years and she will be 19 in July.
Okay.
And she is a student at SHS. And that the man is the boys when they are loving.
Okay.
She didn't do the act under any duress. She consented to it. So we wanted to know if maybe they started years before, so that we could know if we could prepare charges of defilement. Because if they have been in a relationship for over 4 years, then it means that we should backdate our investigation to that area to see if we can establish defilement.
Okay.
But then she said they have been in a relationship for the past 3 years. And the Criminal Offences Act, a child of 16 years can give consent to sex. So once she has stated that she consented to it, rape is not an issue here. And again, her age, defilement also doesn't come in. So now we are only investigating the leakage of the sex tape. That is publication or sale of obscure material.
All right. Thank you very much, ASP. Irene Sewa Opong is in charge of Police Public Affairs in the Central Region. We can also speak to Boedu Abedi Williams. He is the Central Regional Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. William, thank you for joining us here on GHOne TV. As the teacher union, what do you know about this whole sex scandal?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me too. Yes, as a teacher union, when the issue came out, we quickly we were alarmed, and we were so astonished the fact that a teacher, a professional teacher or a head teacher, would go in for a 16-year-old girl in his class. So we sent our men down there, and they gave us the feedback. The feedback was that the girl was not 16 years as speculated. And also, the girl was not in the same school where the victim or the head teacher was heading. So we, as a union, we are saying, yes, we found on a teacher having a relationship with a school girl. We will not condone, we will not accept it in any form. But this is our position, that what the media put out there was not the concern, the age and where the girl's school was our concern.
And okay, so you were concerned about reports that the girl was the head teacher's student and was 16 years old.
Yes.
Okay, but
that was our first issue.
And the second one is?
You see, the second issue boils down to the fact that a teacher, a professional teacher, having a relationship with a school girl.
Okay.
So we were also alarmed in that direction because we know the consequences of this.
And so for you as a teacher union, do you find anything wrong with this whole thing, the video in circulation and the relationship you're learning of now?
We find everything wrong in the sense that have a teacher or a teacher of that caliber, a head teacher, having sexual intercourse with a girl and you videoing it, to us, we think ethically it's wrong.
Okay. Now we are learning. We are learning that he has been relieved of his post. As the association, do you also have any sanction that you'll be meting out to him? Hello, William.
Yeah, I'm on the line, and I'm saying yes, we don't have any problem because I spoke to the regional director. Our regional director told me yes, he has been asked to step aside in his own interest because fire is burning in that village, and you asking as an employer asking the employee to go in there who is alleged to have caused the fire. It's a good administrative step for them to ask him to step aside in his own interest. So there's no problem about that.
Okay.
But there's another key aspect that I heard you saying he has been sacked. That one is far from that.
So he hasn't been relieved of his post. We've cited a statement. He's been asked to step aside.
Step aside for investigating in his own interest.
But it's the same as being relieved of his post, whether it's temporarily.
That's you're a head teacher. There's an issue. I say, please don't even go to the town. When I say don't even go to the town, please allow investigation. Let the security supervisor take over.
Okay.
The school must run.
Granted, and you don't have any issue with that. But I'm asking, will not sanction this member of yours who has been found in engaging in such an act, having sex with the students and recording it? Hello, William.
Yes, I'm come again, please, madam.
I want to find out whether the union will sanction this head teacher in question.
Okay, the issue is the sanction will come from our code of conduct with our employer, who is Ghana Education Service.
Okay, but
there's a clause that bringing the name of Ghana Education Service into this dispute.
Okay.
It's an agreement between the unions and the employer. So the case will be found. That's why investigation is ongoing. When they are done, the teacher will be brought before a discipline committee. Where we will be party, we are part of the discipline committee, and they will go to our code where sanctions and the categories have been found or have been spelled out. Then we'll deal with that issue. So for now, we are waiting for the investigation to complete, and then they'll bring the person, the teacher concerned, before the discipline committee. If there's any criminal aspect, that is for the law enforcement agency. But for us as a union, we are waiting for the investigation so that the discipline committee will be set up, and the teacher will be given a fair hearing, and the needed sanction meted out.
Okay, thank you very much. Boydu Abedi William is the Central Regional NAT Secretary, and he was speaking to us about their position on the sex tape that is out between the head teacher and a senior high school student. We can also quickly have a conversation with Cassandra Ampofu, the PRO of the Ghana Education Service. Madam, thank you for joining us again on a different subject right now. But tell us, at the level of the GES, has this headmaster breached any law?
Yes, Abena, if I can hear you well, we have received the information. Of course, we saw the video, and we have asked the Regional Director of Education and the District Director to investigate the matter and then report back to us. We will only be able to know the veracity after we have gotten the report from the Regional Education Directorate in the Central Region.
But is the GES against a head teacher having sexual relations with a student?
Come again, please.
I'm asking whether in your code of conduct as the Ghana Education Service, does it frown upon the head teacher having sexual relations with a student?
Yes, in our professional code of conduct, it is clearly spelled out that no teacher is to have any immoral relation with a student, his students, or even in any educational institution. And there are penalties for this major misconduct. And so it is spelled out clearly in our code of ethics.
As it stands now, we are learning that the regional GES, they've asked the headmaster to step aside. How soon are you expecting a report from them in order to decide what to do finally to the headmaster in question?
Well, we are expecting to receive the report by Friday so that we get to know the next sanction.
This is not the first time we are learning of an incident like this. We are picking reports that in the Ashanti region, a similar event has occurred, although that one wasn't filmed. But students are alleging that their head teachers, and some teachers, of course, request sex. They trade it for grades. What is the GES doing to nip such actions in the bud?
Yes, we also heard about that one in Ashanti region. Of course, we read in the papers, and so we have quickly contacted the Regional Director of Education Ashanti region to also investigate and give us the report. Unfortunately, we do not hear some of these things directly. Normally, they talk to the media, or we hear from a relative or something. And so when that happens, we have to investigate. You know, the fact that we have heard from the media, or just like the video one we have seen, does not mean we should jump into action. We have to investigate, give them a hearing, and then so that when we are meting out the sanction, we know that indeed we are dealing with them fairly.
But have you investigated such cases in the past? Does any of them come to mind right now? So you can tell us the penalties that were involved, and of course to serve as a deterrent.
Well, we have a number of sanctions. When you look at our code of ethics, there's a possibility of dismissal. That is based on the facts of the matter. There is also a possibility of deferment of the increments in salary, whereby, for example, if salaries are going to be increased in September, yours can be withheld for maybe 2 years before you enjoy that increment. There is also reduction in rank, where if you are, for example, on the rank of Assistant Director 1, your rank can be reduced to a Principal Superintendent according to our ranking system. And so we have a number of sanctions, but it depends on the facts of the matter, and then we met out the appropriate sanction.
Cassandra, thank you very much for speaking to us on Newsroom. Cassandra Ampofo is the PRO for the Ghana Education Service. This is Newsroom on GH1 TV, and we've been spending some time on the sex tape that is in circulation on social media involving a head teacher and a student. We heard from the police PRO in the Central Region, the GES, and NAT, the National Association of Teachers here in Ghana. Right now, we are taking you to the Ashanti region. We understand the board chair of the school in question, a particular school where students are accusing the headmaster of trading grades for sex. He's addressing the media, and so we are bringing you excerpts now.
And the same person that we have mentioned, Elizabeth Amponsejan, mentioned before, attempted to physically assault her house mistress, Miss Juliet Ajay. The school disciplinary committee recommended that she should be deboardinized. Upon hearing it, Nana Poku rushed to the school with a whisk, bodia, and a bottle of schnapps to rain insults and curses on the teacher in front of some students. Nana Poku went ahead to report the case to Ejosohima Nana Ya Asantua II, who made him aware that to allow a student to flout the authority of a headmistress without apologizing was not the best and could serve as a bad example for others to emulate. So you can verify that from Nana Ya Asantua II, Ejosohima. 3. Incitement of students against the teachers. On 16th of May 2017, Nana Poku unlawfully entered the Visual Arts 2 class without any school authorities' notice during the change over of lessons and asked the students different questions, including who seizes your phones and what is done to the phones. How do the male teachers relate to the girls? If a teacher doesn't come to school, to class, what does he do? How many of their colleagues have stopped schooling? His advice to them is that they should be careful about General Mosquito, excuse me, not General Mosquito, but General, who is Mr. Henry Ajeman, the one who took the phone of that supposed daughter of him. Then, after this, corrupting some students by using them to peddle lies and to make false videos and putting them in the social media. We have evidence of that.
So that's the board chairman of the school somewhere in the Ashanti region. We'll bring you more on that. Clearly, he's debunking the allegations made by some female students of that particular school. There will be more on News Tonight at 6:30 right now. And in 2016, they promised to give the country a new economic outlook through industrialization. Now, citizen participation in governance and protecting rights of the ordinary Ghanaian were also mentioned in the ruling NPP's manifesto. From the flagship policies to security, how has the current administration performed? Policy think tank Imani Ghana has been giving their own perspective, and we are joined by William Evans Inkum, who is at that particular event, to tell us what Imani has been saying. So, William, what is the assessment of Imani? What assessment have they been making of the Akufo-Addo administration?
Well, thank you so much, Abena. So from the findings of Imani Ghana, the current administration performed reasonably well within the year and the review. In fact, they are saying that when you take the economy and when you're talking about the macroeconomic stability, the government did very well. In fact, they based the assessment on some key component which has to do with exchange rate, which they say that it has stabilized within the last within the last 1 year. And they also talked about inflation, which according to them has also dropped from 15.4% to 11.8%, and to them is quite encouraging as far as the performance of the this particular administration is concerned. And I'm sure, Abner, you also want to know what the government has been doing, or how well the government has done when it comes to our debt stock, to GDP, and what have you. In fact, according to Imani's report, our GDP stock, or our debt, has actually reduced from 73% to 68.3% within 1 year. And to them, the government has done well when it comes to debt or public debt reduction. However, what Imani also noticed was that within the first year of government, this particular administration did not achieve the right balance between tax cuts and revenue mobilization. Therefore, revenue target of 44.9 billion was missed. So in the face of this success stories as far as managing the economy is concerned, the government failed to achieve its revenue target. Then they also look at the issue of governance. In fact, according to the report, the government did well in the area of governance with the instituting of the Special Prosecutor's Office. It's one thing that the government promised, and it's something that they have also implemented. They also made mention of citizenry participation as far as governance is concerned, which they are saying that the government so far so good, doing creditably well as far as that particular area is concerned. Then we also look at the issue of some of the flagship policies that were launched by this particular administration in the build-up to the election, talking about the free SHS policy, and then one district, one factory, and of course one village, one dam policy. For free SHS, Imani think that there hasn't been some level of clarity as to where they are going to get enough funding as far as sustaining that particular policy is concerned, because what they are saying that even with the 52.3% oil revenue that is being used to fund this particular project is still not sustainable, and so government has to come clear as to how this particular flagship educational program will be sustained. Then we also look at the issue of one district, one factory. Well, what Imani is saying that some jobs have been created, but it has been created on paper, because government is still studying some financial proposals from over 400,000 investors who have actually expressed interest in bringing life to this particular policy. So all in all, they will not rate the government in terms of a scorecard, but they are saying that the president or this particular administration has performed reasonably well.
Much, and we'll take our time to dissect this particular assessment by Imani later this evening on News Tonight. William Evans Inkum joined us from that briefing by Imani Africa. You're watching Newsroom on GHOne TV. Here's what to expect next. We'll take you to Nigeria, where former President Olusegun Obasanjo is asking President Muhammadu Buhari not to seek re-election. There's more after this.
The Ghana Trade Fair Company, under the auspices of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the One District One Factory Secretariat, welcomes you to the 22nd Ghana International Trade Fair under the theme Industrializing Ghana and Creating Jobs. It will be 1 week of exhibition and enterprise from February 28 to March 7, 2018, offering manufacturers, suppliers, consumers, and various service providers the opportunity to network and make sales. The Presidency urges you to support, partner, and explore the opportunities available. For inquiries, call 0241-818-658, 0244-173-127, 055-247-4632, or visit tradefairgh.com. The 22nd Ghana International Trade Fair, industrializing Ghana and creating jobs.
You're welcome back. The minority in Parliament is accusing government of constitutional breaches and disrespect of the Supreme Court over failure to communicate the decision on the 2 ex-Guantanamo Bay detainees living in the country. President Akufo-Addo, during the media encounter last week, assured the fate of the duo will be determined and communicated to Parliament as soon as the House reconvenes. Nonetheless, the matter is conspicuously missing on the agenda of Parliament for the week. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu raised the issue on the floor, demanding action from government.
Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Dr. Anthony Akoto, say in a reaction revealed government doesn't have to resubmit the agreement to Parliament. The old Tafo MP argued the state only needs to issue visas to the duo to continue living in the country.
There's a different issue Ablaka is raising. He's raising a different matter. Mr. Speaker, it was brought to this Parliament for ratification. Now, the government has a right, unilaterally, to give them visas to stay on. That's an executive decision. It has nothing to do with Parliament. The thing with the American government has been properly ratified by this August House, period. So the President has fulfilled his constitutional obligations.
However, speaking to GHOne News, Minority Spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Samuel Okujetu-Ablakwa accused government of disrespecting the Supreme Court judgment that the agreement be presented to Parliament.
We cannot disrespect the Supreme Court. We cannot affront the Constitution. We have all taken an oath to uphold the Constitution of Ghana. And President Akufo-Addo, having ascribed to the oath of office, and having pledged to uphold the Constitution of Ghana since midnight of January 6, every day, January 7, 8, 9, 10th. Today is the 23rd of January. We continue to breach the Constitution of Ghana, and we continue to affront the Supreme Court.
Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Oseiche Mensah Bonsu tells GHOne News government is still consulting on the matter given the sensitive nature of the issue. According to him, the Foreign Affairs Minister has already taken a decision which government is reviewing.
And government is in the process of consultations, and I'm told that they have not concluded the consultations. When they thought that they had about concluded, some other development has arisen, and they have to apply themselves to that and see what will work in the best interest of the country.
Now, have you ever come across a news item online which you believed to be true, only to later realize it was false? Well, you were spoofed, and that is called fake news, a term made popular by U.S. President Donald Trump. The spread of fake news over the internet gives a sense of the speed light these days. Now, Nabil Ahmed Rufai takes a look at the phenomenon of fake news and its prolific growth.
When Donald Trump uses the term fake news to describe the CNN or BBC, that is not just a questionable political tactic, it is actually dangerous.
The broadcast of a news item which later is found not to be true may have been with society for decades, but the term fake news is now attributed to US President Donald Trump, whom in his constant accusation of the media bias never leaves out CNN. He has accused CNN many times of spreading false news on their channel, including the recent expose on the Libya slave trade.
It is unfair and incorrect to accuse legitimate news organizations of deliberately peddling fake news. This is really serious, and it just has to stop, because it is undermining not just our safety, but the credibility of democracy and the fight against corruption and the legitimacy of our order.
Fake news, however, has become common on social media in the last few years. Here in Ghana, it has become a norm for people to spread news of people's death on social media. In fact, the late former President John Evans Atta Mills was a victim of this. Before his death on 24th July 2012, many social media fanatics wrote about his death on Facebook, causing anguish among his friends and family. Elsewhere in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari suffered a similar fate after spending months abroad due to ill health. But the public is worried about the trend of fake news, especially when it is linked to death.
If they find somebody in that situation, they have to punish the person. They have to punish the person so that that thing can be stopped.
Imagine someone is not dead and you just post a picture that the person is just dead, and you're just saying you're making some story about it. I think it's not nice at all.
Away from death-related fake news, however, another worrying trend that is creeping into social media is the setting up of fake accounts. So when you go to Facebook and you search BBC Africa, this is the accounts that you see here. You would see BBC Africa, BBC News Africa, and other platforms. Now, this is the original BBC Facebook account. You'd see their logo indicated here, and there are so many information being put across by BBC Africa. Now, this is actually the fake account on Facebook. You'd see that it still has the BBC Africa logo. The situation is more chaotic when you go to Twitter. You realize that this is the account of the Second Lady Samira Baumia, and she's also shared concerns about her fake accounts here on Twitter, and this is a disclaimer from the office of the Second Lady. In the face of this trend, a lot of fear is created among the public. Recently, there was the circulation of information on WhatsApp and some websites regarding a gas explosion in Ofankor, which read,
"Breaking news. Please, there's a serious gas explosion at ACP Ofankor barrier right now. Many lives and properties are burning as at now. In case you are in a car from Kumasi, in Sawam, Accra or Achimota, moving towards Ofankor barrier and ACP junction, please return to save your life. I was a witness and thank God I was able to escape. Share to save lives now. Let's pray for the victims."
This information turned out to be fake news when the fire service was contacted. Digital consultant Kwame Anyagbenu explains why fake news has become common these days.
For a lot of people who are creating fake news, they do it in a manner that is very difficult to go and arrest them or point them out. Now, the situation is worrying because it's fueled in part by businesses. There's a lot of people online who are only creating fake news, in the sense that once they create that fake news, they have a lot of traffic, people visiting their website. Once they do, it generates into revenue.
As a means of checking the spread of fake news, the Ghana Police Service has also cautioned the public to be wary of fake, duplicated social media accounts of high-profile personalities, public officials, and politicians. Digital consultant Kwame Anyagbenu says beyond this caution, government officials who realize their names have been used to spread fake news must quickly react to quell the effect the news may have on citizens.
So it's important that people of influence who are looked up to can also do something about fake news, in the sense that they can also try to do what we call verification before they send some of the news out. It's not so important that you be spreading news so you are first to go to market. However, the obligation of verification is also very important.
And you have to be sure not to fall prey to fake news. Right now, we're taking you to the court. And remember, in May 2015, the NPP's Upper East Regional Chairman, Adams Mahama, was killed in an acid attack. Well, the case is still in court, and Wilberforce Asare has been monitoring it closely. He joins us via telephone. Well, so what happened in court today?
Well, so Abna, this is a case that has seen up to 4 prosecution witnesses. Today, the 5th prosecution witness made his way to court, and the state prosecutors led him to give his evidence. While he was giving his evidence in court, he indicated that on the fateful day when this acid attack occurred against Adams Mahama, he, Dominic Baba, was with the accused person, Gregory Afoko, and another at a beer bar where they were drinking up till about 10 p.m. And so the assertion that Gregory made to the police that on the fateful day he was asleep in his house couldn't have been correct, because he was with them in the beer bar where they were drinking. After his examination in chief, the lawyers for Gregory Afoko had to take their turn to cross-examine this prosecution witness. However, the case has been shifted to tomorrow for that cross-examination to take place, so that the state prosecutors can go ahead to call their 5th prosecution witness. It's expected that they will call a total of about 12 prosecution witnesses before they bring their case to an end. Abna.
All right. Thank you very much. Wilberforce Asare joined us from the courts, and tomorrow he will be monitoring for us as well. It's time for us to bring you some business stories now. And if you think the statement from the central bank warning investors of dealing in bitcoins is one that would scare cryptocurrency operators, then you are wrong. They are rather urging the central bank to speed up the legislative process, banning the use of virtual or digital currencies, since they stand to benefit from the charges and fees on every transaction.
Hours ago, the central bank governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, cautioned investors about injecting their money into Bitcoin. Well, he called it not illegal, but says there are no policy framework guiding it. And until it goes to Parliament for them to enact a framework to guide it, investors do so at their own risk. Today, it's brought me to East Legon to interact with somebody who understands the Bitcoin market so well. Indeed, he's made a fortune out of it and thinks that for every investor, it is what you should look at. That's the virtual market. Join me. Let's go in and interact with Richard Odame. And Richard, many thanks for joining us on GHOne TV. First of all, let me find out, how do you react to Governor Addison telling potential investors out there that, listen, it's not a legal tender yet in Ghana, so maybe you do so at your own risk?
Well, thank you very much. I think that it's actually in the right direction. with every jurisdiction that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is legal, there's definitely a framework that guides the regulation, although there are some red flags that are being raised. But I think that in the case of Ghana, definitely the regulatory body for monetary policy is the central bank. So everybody expects that they do their due diligence, they do their work and say that they haven't sanctioned it yet. So people should be careful. But we hope that Ghana does not become laid back in the technology. So we hope that they will definitely come up with the right infrastructure and be able to encourage more Ghanaians to take advantage of the technology, because we cannot miss out on it.
What is Bitcoin? Now, for some ordinary person, it's a fraudulent something by some scammers, young guys who just want to make money or milk money, and eventually if you want to go in and pick your redeem your investments, you might not get the opportunity. What is Bitcoin?
Right. So Bitcoin we say it's a seventh disruption that's going to cause a lot of revolution in the financial and business space. Well, some people believe that it's time to cash out, it's time to make money, but that is not the case. What is really happening is an innovation. So it depends on where you position yourself. If you decide to take advantage of it early, then definitely as an early adapter, you make the money. Just like how Peter Thiel had almost about 10.2% in Facebook, as compared to Bill Gates, who invested 240 million but just made 1.6%. So people are just taking advantage of Bitcoin. What Bitcoin simply means, Bitcoin is simply a decentralized form of currency. So instead of having a form of currency that is controlled by the central bank, this time around the currency is controlled by demand and supply. So it is just a revision to the barter era, where it's an agreement between you and I, but instead of just having it in a on a personal level or in the crude way, this time around it is done using the digital space. Because
let's take a look at some international stories now.
President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda has given a speech declaring his love for U.S. President Donald Trump. Earlier this month, Donald Trump was accused of making disparaging remarks about African countries during an immigration meeting. Trump has denied making the remarks, but his U.S. senators who attended the meeting say he did during the opening of the East African Legislative Assembly in the Ugandan capital of Kampala. Mr. Museveni said, "America has got one of the best presidents ever. I love Trump because he tells Africans frankly, the Africans need to solve their problems. The Africans are weak." Mr. Museveni's comments are in opposition to the reaction of many leaders who have condemned Trump's language. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has advised the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari against seeking re-election next year. Mr. Obasanjo supported Mr. Buhari's election in 2015, but now he says the president should retire because of age and ill health. In an open letter, Mr. Obasanjo says he's disappointed with Mr. Buhari, particularly because of what he calls his poor handling of Nigeria's economy, the largest in Africa. He adds that the president does not have a good understanding of Nigeria's social and economic dynamics, and the country needs a younger leader. Mr. Buhari has not publicly responded to Mr. Obasanjo, who wrote a similar letter to the then President Goodluck Jonathan, urging him not to run in 2015.